So my husband and I started at Clever People in 2009, so flashback a little bit. So how I got into real estate, very much happenstance. I was at Clemson and there was a friend of mine who was an office manager at a real estate office, and she's from another country. She's like, hey, I'm gonna go back to my country for a month. Do you want to be the office manager? And I said yes, assuming that if I was offered a 1-month job that I would know what to do, right? And so I get to the office, everyone's super nice, but at that time, this is like circa 2002. Okay, now, we had dial-up internet, and honestly, I'm old enough now that I still remember it, but I'm officially to an age kind of like an artifact that people hear about it like, oh yeah, what was that like? And pause, if you don't know like really what dial-up is, imagine you type in a web address and like forget it's on 5G, not LTE. It's like a third of the page loads and then you go get a cup of coffee, you come back, another third of the page has loaded, you go walk the dog and you come back and the rest of the page is loaded. So heaven forbid you type in the wrong address because you're starting that bad boy all the way over again. But anyway, I digress. So I go to this office, and because the time was very different, people had cell phones back then, although we did count our minutes, and you were not on the phone as often. That way people would just pop in the office, but a lot of agents were also part-time. So people would just show up and have questions and want to know where their agent was. And so here I am, like 19 years old, and I'm the office manager. Nobody else is in the office. These people have part-time jobs or doing different stuff. They're out on appointments. And people are like, so tell me about the timeline and what's next in my contract and how much money am I gonna make on the sale of my home? And I am like unprepared for this, but I was raised by a military dad who was like, Tammy, there is no such thing as not having an answer. If you don't know, figure it out. I remember thinking, gosh, does everyone have all these questions? Like, I feel like this is a big deal. People should know a lot of this stuff. Like 4 days before you're selling, this guy's like, hey, how much am I gonna make on the sale of my home? I hope I'm gonna make enough money to do the next thing I wanna do. And I'm like, you were selling your house to kind of be homeless and you don't know how much money you're gonna make or if you can afford this next thing? So instantly in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I could do this. I can explain this to other people. And so she says, well, why haven't you thought about it before? And she doesn't know, like, because I've been young and in college and things like that. And I'm like, well, thinking about my parents' experience, I'm like, all the real estate agents I know are older and rich already. It seemed like, drove fancy cars. I mean, in Hollywood, that's what it was like. And I don't know what I thought they did, but I didn't think they were doing this. And so I thought, well, maybe I could do it. So I did. I got into real estate, and my mission was to help people be confident because they understood what they were getting into. And there were numerous times I would talk people out of buying or selling because as they would tell me their goals, I knew it wasn't the right time, but there was a lot of stuff that happened differently back then. Like they actually rode in the car with us. That doesn't happen a lot anymore. So I survived getting into real estate. I was not good with directions, really interesting combination. Got good at directions, met my husband, and we formed the Clever People team in 2009. Let me be totally honest and tell you, we're the worst leaders. Not because we're not good leaders, but imagine leading a bunch of CEOs. Generally, you have the CEO and the CEO leads, but you attract all this great talent and they're all leaders. So we did fail forward. I can say that now because we have an amazing team, but definitely had a big learning curve. In fact, if you join our team right now, the very first conversation I have is, I will fail you and make a mistake at some point, guaranteed 100%. That is the only thing I know that I can tell you I will do, but I am gracious and I will listen and I will learn and I will correct quickly. So that is my story to this point. Now, why am I still in real estate? I have never not been passionate about this. It is different every single day. I thought that at 20 years in, I would know everything. And literally every day of the week, something happens. I've never heard of this problem before. I've never seen this situation before. It's like being in the ER without the blood and guts. And then we went on steroids a few years ago, and it was the most exciting, joyful thing of my life. In addition to attracting all these CEO-minded, great leader real estate agents, we've created our own transaction management team. And typically you hear transaction management team and you're like, oh, okay, great, everybody has it. When I tell you the high capacity of these agents, they are also licensed agents, although they are not selling agents, and they are looking at details to help facilitate transactions with us. And the reason we did this, forgive me, one last story. I don't know if anyone's ever heard this, but there's this iconic story with Truett Cathy, who was the CEO of Chick-fil-A. And back in the early 2000s when he was, going up against Boston Market, and Boston Market was going really big, all of his top guys were like, we're gonna have to create other menu items. We're gonna have to compete with Boston Market. They've got all this extra food. So you get all these people around this table. Truett Cathy's there. They're all throwing out their ideas. And all of a sudden they hear this pounding on the table. And they look up and it's Truett. And Truett says, we're not doing it. We're not doing any of it. I'm going to make the best chicken sandwich and people are gonna have the best experience, and that's all we're focusing on. We aren't going to diminish our success in all the other areas and the service we can provide. We're gonna do these things really, really well. And so when we got our team together and we started talking about our management team, we realized it was arrogant and wrong to think that one agent could do everything perfectly for every client. They just can't. So we figured out that we would hire top talent in different areas. People are good at details, people that are good at paperwork, people that are good at overseeing all the details of a transaction. So our team is always 2 and 3 steps ahead in a transaction. We are always looking at high details. I had a client a year ago. I did not know this at the time, but they were dealing with some financial issues, and our services coordinator who's working on the listing paperwork says, "Hey Tammy, come look at this. You said these people live in this home. It looks like they're paying an investor tax rate. Can we verify this?" They ended up calling the county for me. We verified it was true. The county was retroactive for 2 years. What that means is, in the month of December, this client who was selling their home, who was in the middle of some financial hardship, got a $7,800 check back. Dramatically changed their lives. So those are the kind of details that our management team is figuring out, oh, just by the way, on the side, in addition to the whole transaction. If you are in the Upstate, I would love to chat with you. I would love to help you talk about real estate. So if you're in the Upstate, I'm Tammy, and I'm with the Clever People.